it is. It's nothing else. Now I'm going to go back to MS Paint because now I just explained to you what multipolarity is, right? So now there's a different thing going on, right? Which people confuse with multipolarity, but is actually different, okay? So remember this distinction in Marxism between the superstructure and the base? Okay, well, I'm just going to simplify it here. The base is multipolar, okay? It's the superstructure that remains unipolar because the U.S. global military machine is no longer a determining material form of the relations of production. It is a political superstructure. Okay, keep that in your mind. U.S. military is a political superstructure. Okay. Same with Russia. So globally, you still have U.S. unipolarity at the level of the superstructure. Okay. The base is multipolar already. The superstructure is unipolar. So look, during the Cold War, you had US multipolarity, and then you had the Soviet Union politically harassing the shit out of this system and preventing it from taking from functioning as intended or whatever, right? From taking form, right? Remember? So the Soviet Union was the political superstructure attempting to retard and prevent the consolidation of what was primarily actually an economic system that was not necessarily reducible to political intentions. So it was the Soviet Union that was causing trouble based on politics, basically, right? But now it's the opposite. The US unipolar system is no longer this it's no longer a system primarily based in the development of economic systems or the evolution of economic systems. Now it's primarily based in this, superstructure based on the US military, right? Fuck this piece of shit. The tanks. Does that look like a tank? Probably not. And then airplanes. Pew! There's an airplane. Wow. How do I fucking draw an airplane? Doing my best. So tanks and airplanes and the military, that's a political superstructure. So the economic system. Alexander Kojev was correct. And I wrote about this in Alexander Kojev and the Russian Special Military Operation. More or less, the U.S. did make progress in the development of socialism. So Lenin said imperialism is the final stage of capitalism. U.S. superimperialism was this kind of like transitional stage between capitalism and a socialist mode of production. And the Soviet Union in the post-war period, rather than advancing socialism necessarily, was actually just resisting the consolidation of the superimperialist system. But when the superimperialist system did consolidate, that actually led to the emergence of what all we can call it is a socialist mode of production, which exists in China, which was an evolutionary continuity economically, not politically. Because people hear the word evolution, they go, Bernstein? I'm talking about economics. All Marxists agree that economically capitalism is evolving to socialism. Not politically, but economically. The reformism comes from the political reformism and so on. It has nothing to do with anything I'm talking about. Anyway, China's system developed in a continuity from the U.S. global system. And it actually did succeed in the consolidation of the socialist mode of production, a real objective. So, people ask me, is Russia socialist? Yeah, economically, yeah, it is, especially after the SMO. But yeah, the socialist tendency, is dominant in the mode of production within Russia. Is Russia politically socialist? Well, no. Politically, Russia is a democracy. Politically, Russia is not a socialist, but socialism is not about political policy at all. Socialism is an economic system that is rooted in a systemic logic. Okay. And that logic happens to be one So this is what I'm talking about. So that's that. Okay. So infrared's theory is more or less that multipolarity is not only an economic reality today, but that multipolarity equals socialism. They're the same thing. Polarity refers to the logic of socialist economics. Polarity is a socialistic economic logic. Okay, that's what a pole or polarity is. Economic polarity. It's a socialist logic. Now, this is our very mundane, boring reality. Iran's undergoing new privatization. Doesn't matter. Doesn't actually matter. You have to look at the monopoly on the creation of credit, because everything is downstream from that. Private accumulation that's happening at any level of enterprise does not become important or a dominant tendency until it rises to the status of, becoming a form of capital that can assume the logic of credit, or not even just credit, but the kind of credit debt syzygy that only kind of state banks or the Federal Reserve are capable of. So there you go.